I don't think he's happy with the quarterbacking situation, his ability to affect the offense and all those things. So it's manifested itself. But they backed themselves into a corner here. There might be 4 teams on the phone, but who's going to take on the contract, as Coach Belichick said? Who's going to give him a second-round pick? Nobody. And why would you?
It has been more than a week since Davante Adams demanded to be traded out of Las Vegas. And the deal still has not gotten done, but there are plenty of rumors swirling, plenty of teams interested. The Athletic now reporting there are still 4 teams eyeing a possible trade. The Jets, Saints, Steelers, and Bills. 2 of them a little bit more obvious than the others, considering their quarterbacks played with Adams at one point in their careers. But, Michael, you and your pal, Bill Belichick, went on the Coach podcast yesterday and discussed this whole situation. Let's take a listen to that right now.
Davante Adams wants to get traded. That's going to be a big story. And I have a feeling that, as we tape this, by the end of this week, he probably will get traded.
Not for a second-round pick, which supposedly is what they're asking for.
That's ridiculous.
I don't see how anybody's going to give a second-round pick for him. You'd have to feel like this guy Adams is going to take us to the promised land, and he's going to get us over the hump this year because he's also got a big salary.
To me, the hard part is that you've taken away all my leverage. Right? He's now, his contract's huge. He's making, now it was $950 come off. So say he's around $12 million. I want to get away from the contract. The next team that wants him doesn't want the contract next year. So I think you're going to have to trade him for a conditional pick that could grow based on his productivity.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. That's why if you see that storm coming and it's brewing, it's a lot better to do it earlier rather than later. And right now the Raiders are in a tough situation. They really are, but they've kind of put themselves into it. This wasn't a big secret. This storm's been brewing for a while, and the longer you put it off, it seems like the harder it is to get anything done.
Yeah, we taped that on Tuesday, and Coach is right. The storm has been brewing for a while. I mean, I've been reporting that this storm's been going on since February. It's a lot to do with the new contracts that a lot of the receivers have gotten. The Raiders chose not to do anything with Davante's deal, and he was unhappy with that. I think he's been unhappy. I don't think he's happy with the quarterbacking situation, his ability to affect the offense and all those things. So it's manifested itself. But they backed themselves into a corner here because there might be 4 teams on the phone, but who's going to take on the contract, as Coach Belichick said? Who's going to give him a second-round pick? Nobody. And why would you? Why would you? And the Raiders are going to have to eat some of the contract money. So to me, this is an ongoing issue, Grace. I think that's what's going to have to keep going. I think we're just going to keep talking about it. And I don't know what Antonio Pierce has got to say about it.
Well, Antonio Pierce does have something to say about it. And quite frankly, Michael, he sounds a little bit delusional. I'm not going to paraphrase it. Let's just listen to the head coach himself. Here's what Antonio Pierce said about Adams' status with the team.
Well, the update, Davante's doing well. Hamstring's getting there. He's getting closer and closer to get back on the field, on the practice field, and good spirits. We talked, so everything's good.
Do you see any scenario where he can return to the Raiders?
He's still a Raider. He's never not been a Raider.
Yeah, actually playing again for the Raiders.
He's still a Raider. When he's healthy and he can play, we'll play him.
Well, that's just propaganda. I mean, that's just flat-out propaganda. That's all that is. Because he's trying to tell the teams that are interested that we're going to keep them instead of trading them. They have to increase their position of strength in a negotiation. So that's just sheer propaganda. There's not one word of there that you believe. The kid said he's not playing anymore there. And the fact that he's there, if you can't trade him, they're just trying to strengthen their position and make people think that instead of taking a bad deal, they're going to keep him on the team, Harrison, and I don't see that.
So my question for you, Michael, when realistically do you think this deal happens? If you think that these teams aren't really going to budge on that initial asking price for the Las Vegas Raiders, when would you predict it does take place?
Well, I think when the Raiders realize that that the best deal's out there. I mean, if there was a deal the Raiders liked, it would have happened by now. So basically what you're hearing is there's no deal they like. And I don't think anybody's going to increase their offer because, look, I don't believe there's 4 teams in it, to be honest with you. I think there's really 1, maybe 2. I think it's the Jets. So you're playing basically a poker game, and you're basically deciding on whose hand's better, my hand or yours. And the Raiders don't have a hand. They're sitting there with 2 pair of 2s. They don't have a hand. because they're asking for something ridiculous. Now, until they lower their demands, until they discard some of their cards, there's no way a deal gets done. And eventually, fear does the work of reason. He's not going to play for him. See, Antonio's trying to put it out there that he's coming back. No, not so fast. He's not coming back. He's not going to be happy. And if they lose this week at home to Pittsburgh, which I'm sure many people think they will in the betting market, then, this team is really going to be playing for next year pretty soon. They're not good enough to beat anybody. They lost Christian Wilkins, their defensive lineman. They've now gone to Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. Are you kidding me? I mean, Aiden O'Connell couldn't move the ball against Minnesota last year. They lost 3-0. Aiden O'Connell couldn't complete a pass after the first quarter against the Kansas City Chiefs. Aiden O'Connell went in through an interception in the last game they played. I'm not saying he's better than Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew at least can function and they operate. I mean, they just replaced themselves with the worst quarterback. They're kidding themselves. I like the kid, Aiden O'Connell, but he's a backup quarterback. I mean, Gardner Minshew has won some games. I'm not sure Aiden O'Connell can win games. Well, you say, well, he won a game against the Chargers. Come on now. That game was Brendan Staley's goodbye to the NFL in terms of being a head coach. So I don't see that at all, Grace. I think, to me, this move to Aiden O'Connell by the head coach is another desperation move. Look, I'm not sure that anybody's sold on whatever's going on out there. I think if truth be told, I think Mark Davis isn't exactly, when Josh McDaniels was there, everybody was promoting him to be upset about the head coaching record. Well, really, hadn't gotten any really better now that Antonio Pierce is there. They don't look like a playoff team at all.
O'Connell didn't really provide any proof that he was better than Minshew. Once he came in relief last Sunday, he went 10 of 20 for 94 yards and threw an interception, just like Minshew. However, Antonio Pierce, despite these guys going through an actual quarterback competition during training camp, now says, I don't plan on making switches at any time. When it's time to make a switch, we'll make a switch. So it's looking like O'Connell is the starter for the near future. But do you think this is a competition that extends throughout the season? What is the appropriate thing for him to do here?
Well, I mean, look, I don't understand how you could watch that game last week and blame it all on the quarterback, right? I mean, to me, there's other issues. And I think, to me, this is an act of desperation. It's the old adage, the John Madden adage, when you have two, you don't have any. They don't have a quarterback. I mean, this was the problem going in. Now, look, they weren't. I think part of the issue here is the organization wasn't in tune to signing Gardner Minshew. I'm not sure there was a complete universal decision to do that. I think that this was Tom Telesco, their general manager, who wanted to sign him, and they felt like they needed to get somebody to protect themselves, which is true. But I think they fully expected to go into the draft. They had this illusion that they were going to be able to trade up to get to get Daniels from at the top of the draft, and that never happened. I mean, they because Pierce coached him at Arizona State, because Marvin Lewis was at Arizona State, they had this notion that they could get up, and if the kid played hardball with all these teams, remember, he wasn't sure where he wanted to play. It was all just a bunch of crap. It's all noise. So to me, this is where they are. They didn't improve the quarterback. They had no idea that Atlanta was going to take Michael Penix, or they should have traded up to get Michael Penix. They couldn't do it. I mean, this is the bed they have to lay in now. So I think, as you move forward, Harrison, it's hard.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now, absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.